Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am PJ. So let's talk about Sudan, huh? By the time this gets uploaded and you're watching it, the evacuation of personnel from the United States Embassy in Khartoum, Sudan, will either be underway or fixin' to. So, yeah, we are fixing to do a a non-combatant evacuation operation of our people in Khartoum, Sudan. What is going on? 18 months ago, year and a half ago, there was a military coup in Sudan. Now, what was going on before that was one of Africa's longest dictators was in charge until I think 2019, somewhere in there. They were responsible for the genocide that was going on in South Sudan against mostly Christian Sudanese, something you never heard about in the news or, our government talk about. They were slaughtering Christians by the boatload. Well, about 18 months ago, there was a military coup. They arrested the prime minister, threw him in jail. The military did. And the military, I'm painting a little bit with a broad brush here, but the military was comprised of the armed forces, and I had to write these names down because I'm not a Sudanese analyst. General Burhan, armed forces, and also they had almost a private entity. It was a militia. To call it a militia to an American really mischaracterize it because Americans think a militia, 20, 50 guys. No, it was thousands of people. He was a warlord who became the head of what they called I had to write this down too, the RSF, Regional Support Force or something. His name was Dagalo. So you got Burhan, the general of the military, mostly Army, but Air Force too. Burhan and Dagalo, commander of the huge militia RSF, and they overthrew the government. Well, two big dogs get together to overthrow the government. Now they're in charge. The people start protesting. The people were kind of happy. They had about, 2-ish years of civilian rule where their voices could be heard. And the reason the military stepped in after that was because they're like, this just ain't working. At least when we had a dictator, the trains ran on time. There was electricity and water flowing to the city, and it's very messy right now. And so the government, the military stepped in and overthrew the government. Well, the people weren't happy about that because now there's a dictatorial government comprised of the military and the RSF. So two kind of factions in Sudan, if you will. When these people protested, the military, wham, hammered them, right? Like, oh my God, oh my God. Well, the two factions, the one, I got to keep looking at these names, the military faction headed by General Burhan, he assumed command of the country. He said, I'm in charge. And Dagalo, the head of the RSF, said, yeah, you know what? I think we're going to take charge of the country. And so they started fighting. That's what's going on right now. The two military people are fighting for control of Sudan, but it gets more complicated. The RSF, the militia, they're not just some ragtag militia. They have anti-aircraft missiles and stuff. Where did they get them? From the Russians. From Wagner, the Wagner group, the little green men, the people who are instrumental in Bakhmut in Ukraine. Yeah, it's like a huge Blackwater, Russia's private army. They've been in Libya for a while. Libya's having their own problems, and they've got the government over here and rebels down here, and they've been kind of working with the rebels and supporting them. They control territory in Libya. Well, it's right next to Sudan, and so they started also supporting, the Russians did, through Wagner Group, the RSF. I don't know where the U.S. comes in on this, but I'm thinking if the Wagner Group is supporting the RSF in this fight for control of Sudan, we are probably to one extent or another backing the general of the armed forces, Burhan, um, just cuz, right? Either way, no matter if Burhan, the military faction, wins or Dagalo, I got to keep looking at this. I'll know it by the end of the week. Dagalo, the head of the RSF, who's also now supported by Wagner, meaning Russia, um, whether he wins, the Sudanese people lose. See, either way, there's going to be a military dictatorship. There ain't no civilian representative democracy coming to Sudan anytime soon. They are fighting, the two forces are fighting in the capital, and when one wins, it's not like they're going to say, okay, everybody's free, do what you want, elect your own government. That ain't going to happen. Because the fighting is going on between those two factions, and it is in Khartoum, the capital of Sudan right now, everybody's hunkered down. You can go, there's live streams of Khartoum that you can go watch. I watched some this morning. It's just quiet. Nobody's moving in the capital city of Sudan, and things are on fire, and you hear gunfire down the road and things like that. War has come. There's evidently no electricity or running water in the capital city of Sudan, and that has been the case for a few days. People have been trying to escape, moving either to the north or the south out of the city when there's a ceasefire. I think so far 300 people have been killed, which doesn't strike me as a whole lot. But if you're one of those, or somebody you care about is one of those, that's a lot. And since everybody's locked down, embassies are getting ready to evacuate their people because no water, no electricity. The embassies are now on their survival rations and water systems, whatever they've set up, their generator power. It's not like they're going to go down to the local gas station and get more gas for the generators. And so we are getting ready to evacuate our personnel. We don't know how we're going to do that yet. Again, by the time you watch this video, we may, because I suspect it'll be within the next 24 hours. Evidently, the airport in Khartoum is inop. It's Africa. It's just cratered and it's just, you can't fly out of there. There's another airport that I read about that's like 14 miles away. They were considering going overland. That's a terrible idea. All options are on the table. Evidently, our embassy staff is minimal and they are unaccompanied. No wives and children, because Sudan, Khartoum is a hardship posting, duh. And so it's only those people we have to get out. We made some weird comment, we meaning State Department, Biden, White House, somebody, that we're only planning to evacuate embassy personnel, not AMCITs, American citizens. That's interesting to me. One, how many American citizens not related to the embassy are in Sudan? And so if it's only a few, which I would suspect, but I don't know, we could have a gold mine there or something. I don't know. I guess I'll come back to that. Why not just throw the half dozen of them in with the embassy people and get them all out? I don't know. But they're looking at an evacuation. I'm thinking, I must be careful here because I've actually done surveys for embassies to evacuate people. Let's just say there will probably be a military component to that evacuation. We're already gathering military forces in Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti. I'm expecting big helicopters and security forces to descend out of the sky, pick people up, and fly away. That's what I think will happen. That's about all I can say on that right now. Gold. Half of the reason that Russia's involved in Sudan at all has to do with gold. The other half has to do with a port on the Red Sea. Back before the military coup, Russia was in Sudan working with the Sudanese, trying to get access to the gold, because since 2014, when they invaded Crimea and we put all those sanctions on them, they need money. Russia needs money. And so they worked a deal with Sudan where we'll come here and we'll run some gold mines, and they're sucking up gold. And then they had the unpleasantness, who's in charge in Sudan now, because Russia had a deal with these guys and now these guys are in charge. And so that's when Russia probably looked at the two forces, the military forces and the militia, and said, we're going to back the militia because they're going to win. And so they're still doing the gold deal. They don't have their port yet because the U.S., when we found out about it, we're like, no, the Russians can't have a port on the Red Sea. And so we put a lot of influence in to try to make that not happen. But that's what's going on there. Gold, access to the Red Sea, a very dysfunctional state, soon to be probably a failed state. And then you'll hear the world say, oh, we got to send food to the poor people in Sudan. What you won't hear them say is, oh, we got to send food and aid and money, billions of dollars to the poor people of Sudan who slaughtered Christian Sudanese for years, just slaughtered them. Personally, I'll let them starve. It's a failed state. It's Africa. I could go there, but I won't. All right, that's my take on what's happening in Sudan. I'm going to try and get this uploaded so the evacuation hasn't happened yet by the time this gets loaded, but if it hasn't, it'll be happening soon. It ought to make for some good video. All right, I appreciate y'all. Have a great weekend. I will. See you out there.